They are executing the next phase of their plan. And we're dealing with all sorts of stuff right now. Super high inflation, potentially hyperinflation. Fed Chair Jerome Powell, the Federal Reserve, is raising interest rates at the fastest clip that we've ever seen here. Layoffs, low income Americans, middle class Americans are being wiped out. Homelessness is on the rise. We've seen food shortages. We've seen drought, natural disasters occurring more and more frequently. Things are getting bad here, guys. So now they're looking to cut our water. Now, you guys got to get a load of this. They're looking to cut our water. China's worst heat wave in the last 60 years is literally forcing factories to close. It's causing layoffs, bankruptcy for a lot of people. But here in the United States, we're not doing a whole lot better either. So, water sources like the Colorado River, Lake Mead, Lake Powell, they're drying up, which means water cuts for 2 states, Arizona and Nevada, as well as Mexico. Now, missing essentials like this could be the cause for why more and more Americans are relying on credit cards. So, do you expect Congress to bail us out at all? Drop me a quick comment down below, and also drop me a comment down below if you happen to be, within the millions of Americans that are just depending on credit cards just to get by every single month. Now, millions of Americans would rather not prepare, and they would rather just remain asleep and ignore the crisis, or I should say the crises that are mounting around us. But sadly, their families will not be prepared. Now, we may be facing a water shortage, and we could also be facing a severe food shortage right along with the water shortage. Now, for more news on money, financial preparation, financial survival, make sure to drop a like for the video and also subscribe to the channel. I also want to thank all of the boots on the ground for dropping very helpful insider information on what you guys are actually seeing in the comments down below. And I also appreciate the encouraging emails and questions that you guys have been sending me over the last several weeks. So, China's worst heat wave in 60 years is forcing factories to close. 6 days. China's Sichuan province has ordered all factories to shut down for 6 days to ease a power shortage in the region as a scorching heat wave basically sweeps across the country. Now, things are so bad, bridges are cracking under the heat. You guys can check it out for yourself.
Yeah, John, double misery, but some would argue both are man-made disasters or challenges. On the heat wave front, as Pedram was saying, this has been extraordinary in terms of how unrelenting and widespread this heat wave has been in this country. In some places, it's been going on for more than a month and really hitting nearly every corner of this vast country from the east to the south all the way to the northwest. Again, on Tuesday, nearly 60 Chinese cities have issued their highest level red alerts, meaning temperature in their locations could surpass 40 degrees Celsius. And in one extreme example caught on video, actually, a bridge in Quanzhou in southeastern China was seen buckling under the strain of intense heat last weekend. So not surprisingly, many people in this country trying to escape the heat by flocking to beach towns, especially the island of Hainan, often nicknamed China's Hawaii. I just came back from there. I can tell you the resorts there are filled with domestic travelers, really undeterred by all the challenges and restrictions of traveling in China these days because of the government's strict zero COVID policy.
But, things are really, really getting bad over there. So now they're on power rationing. So factories are going to have to shut down. This could mean layoffs for some people and maybe even bankruptcy if this goes on. It's going to affect us too. I don't want you guys to think that, oh, this is just China, what does this have to do with us? This will affect us as well. Sichuan is a key manufacturing location for the semiconductor and solar panel industries, and the power rationing will hit factories belonging to some of the world's biggest electronic companies, including Apple supplier Foxconn, as well as Intel. And this is also adding to the chip shortage that is affecting so many different industries, including the car industry. Used car prices are so high, new car prices are so high, and this is if you can even get the car. So the province is also China's lithium mining hub. So lithium is a key component of electric car batteries, and this particular shutdown could mean Tesla and other electric vehicles are going to become even more and more expensive. But the good news is that, with more and more Americans living paycheck to paycheck and maxing out high interest credit cards just to make ends meet, the average American can't afford a new Tesla or any other brand new electric vehicle anyway. So, well, maybe, I don't know if that's good news or not, but strong sarcasm. You guys get what I'm saying though. But the country is now facing a real estate and market crisis that has banks shutting down deposits, they're shutting down withdrawals, and people are rallying in the streets. Yeah, it's a whole thing that we covered in a previous video. You guys definitely have to check that out. Did you guys check that previous video I covered regarding this whole Evergrande China economy bank collapse? If you guys did not check it out, make sure to check out that previous video. Lots of really insightful information. It's crazy what's going on over there that could very well bleed over into the United States. So if you're not financially prepared, you might want to get financially prepared. So yeah, going back to the record heat wave. So it's one of the hottest in 6 decades, and right now they're logging temperatures crossing 104 degrees Fahrenheit in multiple cities, which is absolutely just hot as heck, right? So you can just imagine the demand that this is going to put on the power grid, with heavy duty air conditioning in offices and homes going 24/7, not to mention the drought that has also depleted river levels, reducing the amount of electricity produced at hydropower plants. Now, apart from Sichuan that ordered factories to shut down, other Chinese provinces, including Jinshuang, Anhui, and Zhejiang, they have also urged businesses and households to conserve power with this heat wave that's going on. And in some regions, offices have been included in this reduction of power usage, and they've been ordered to increase the AC temperature to like 78, 80 degrees in the offices, basically to reduce how much power they're using. They're also telling businesses to shut down their elevator services for the first 3 floors, all as a means to attempt to conserve electricity. Now, I'm telling you guys, if things go on like this could be our future that we're looking at here in the United States as well. Now, just check out the headlines that we're seeing right here in the United States. An extreme heat belt will impact over 100 million Americans in the next 30 years. And, the key line temperatures above 125 degrees during their hottest stretches of the year, we're talking more than 10 times the number that's expected currently. Experts, they say that a disastrous mega flood is coming to California, and it could be the most expensive natural disaster in history. These massive floods, which experts are saying could turn California's lowlands into a vast inland sea, and it might have previously happened once in a lifetime in the state. But experts say that climate change is increasing the likelihood of these catastrophic disasters, causing them to occur much more frequently. So instead of like every 100 years, it's more like every 25 to 50 years. I don't know if you guys have ever seen that movie. What was it? The end of Day Before Tomorrow. That was or the Day After Tomorrow, Day Before Tomorrow, Day After Tomorrow. You guys help me out on this movie, but basically it was like this climate change movie, and this scientist was predicting what could happen in the next like 30 years or something like that, 50 years, and then all of a sudden his models, his prediction models for the weather forecasts and the change in the climate patterns began coming true, but way sooner than expected. And I really hope that doesn't happen here. Really good movie. Probably watched it about 10 times. But anyway, so, which is a shame why I can't remember the name of the movie. But anyway, so, 1/3 of the food that we eat is also at risk. And this is because the climate crisis is endangering butterflies and bees. But it's more than just butterflies and bees. Key lines like apples, melons, cranberries, pumpkins, squash, broccoli, almonds, they're among the foods that are most susceptible to the pollinator decline. And according to the Food and Drug Administration, this is expected to get worse. Bees in particular are responsible for pollinating around 90%, or rather 90 commercially produced crops. Also, and I know this is really scary for a lot of us, tequila is also at risk. The government is also, for the first time, trying to do something major about climate change. They just signed this major bill into law. Now, what they call this bill is the Inflation Reduction Act, but doesn't seem to be doing a whole lot for inflation. But part of it is to spend hundreds of billions of dollars in investments to transition the company more quickly away from fossil fuels and or I should say more quickly toward clean energy and away from fossil fuels. And their goal is to achieve carbon neutrality. Now, keep that in mind, you guys, carbon neutrality. But really, the big lesson that I'm getting from this whole summer issue, all these summer issues that we're dealing with, is that we don't have to wait for the effect of climate change. It's happening now already with floods, with wildfires, and the drying out of the western United States. This will certainly continue to drive prices up. It's going to create shortages from a number of different sectors, not just food shortages, but shortages of many different things. We're going to get into that later in this video. But prices will go up. Inflation will continue to hit the average American. We'll likely be forced to companies and businesses will likely be forced to lay off employees. And so this means that creating residual income, creating passive income streams will be more and more important for the average American. Americans may be forced to learn how to invest or even upgrade their housing situation. And I am betting a lot of people in rental properties could really use a boost to their passive income, especially with rents continuously increasing. Now, it definitely can't hurt real estate investors to have a little bit of extra to upgrade their offerings for the working class Americans, right? Now, just look at what's happening to our lakes and our rivers, not to mention our power water supply. Colorado River, it's parched. Lake Mead and Lake Powell, they're drying up. The Colorado River supplies water to 40 million people in the West. And just this week, the federal government, they announced fresh cuts to people's water supplies. So, one expert is saying that they're playing Russian roulette with the people's water. But you guys should definitely check this out.
Whiskey is for drinking. Water is for fighting. That supposed Mark Twain quote has been a Western slogan since the first settlers. But now the worst drought in 1,200 years has water managers in 7 states, 30 tribal nations, and Mexico fighting over every precious drop.
But to date, the states collectively have not identified and adopted specific actions of sufficient magnitude that would stabilize the system.
That was the commissioner in charge of dams and reservoirs, admitting that upper and lower basin states have failed to agree on ways to cut their water use by up to 25%.
I think ultimately the states are going to realize they're playing Russian roulette, and they're going to have to come to their senses.
For almost 30 years, Pat Mulroy was in charge of southern Nevada's water and led an aggressive conservation campaign to tear up lawns, reuse wastewater, and scold water wasters.
Can't water in the middle of the day, ma'am. You'll be fine if you don't change your watering clock.
All measures she'd like to see happen downstream.
I think they're kind of kicking the can down the road past the election, if you want me to be very frank about it. I don't think anybody wants to make great public announcements about measures they may have to take prior to the election.
Rather than force new action, the feds will let the states keep talking, while the next round of automatic cuts will lower water delivery by 7% to Mexico, 8% to Nevada, and 21% to Arizona.
You can hear this crunching. It's just starting to dry up.
Here, alfalfa farmers are already being paid to let their fields go fallow, while some are switching to crops like Waiuli, a rubber plant that grows in the desert.
Crop switching, looking at lower water use crops like WWIII, is one of the solutions we need to be looking at in a drier future to allow communities to sustain themselves.
Thanks to some creative water accounting, California will not face mandatory cuts next year, but their governor is already warning of a future with a lot more people and a lot less water.
The science and the data leads us to now understand that we will lose 10% of our water supply by 2040. If all things are equal, we will lose an additional 10% of our supply by 2040.
We have the very real possibility this coming year, if we have another lousy winter, all things being equal, that we will drive this lake down to elevation 1,000. That is 100 feet above dead pool, and you're at the bottom of the martini glass. So it doesn't take much to tip that over and get to the point where nothing can go downstream. And if you don't take it seriously now, if you think that you're going to avoid this, do a rain dance, go pray, do whatever, that we have a great winter, you're insane.
Now, starting in January, the river will operate in what is known as Tier 2 shortage condition for the first time since Lake Mead's water levels is projected to be below 1,000, I think it's 1,050 feet above sea level at that point. Now, this is huge. So this means 2 states, Arizona and Nevada, as well as Mexico, will face deeper cuts in how much water they can use from the Colorado River. Lake Mead, Lake Mead's been around 1,050, 1,040 feet this summer. It's just 25, 26, 27% of its capacity. So it's very low to say the least. And this isn't just gonna, this isn't gonna just be for the people in those states. If things don't get better soon, this could easily ultimately affect all Americans, since those states and the water that they need to fuel a multi-billion-dollar agricultural industry that feeds the country with access to green vegetables in the winter months, it's going to affect everything. Everything's going to be affected. So this is serious, guys, and let your families know, spread the word. They're not talking about this very much in the mainstream media, probably because they don't want to cause panic. They don't want to spread fear. But is it spreading fear, or is it spreading knowledge? Depends on how you look at it, I think. So, not only will we be facing a water shortage, but we could also be facing a severe food shortage right along with it. I mean, why aren't more news channels talking about this? And why isn't Congress doing something about this? Or is Congress a part of this? Now, I don't really hear Biden mentioning this at all. Could they be, just kicking the can down the road until midterm elections are over? Is this a way to kind of hide the problems that we're experiencing just to get past midterm elections and then maybe deal with it then? You guys can let me know in the comments down below. Let me know what you guys think. I guess no one wants to really rattle the cage until the midterm elections are over, because the votes are on the line. Really the politicians, they never cease to amaze me. But take a look at this, right? So you can see this. It's like a bathtub ring that shows where the lake used to reach. The marina, even moved a quarter of a mile from its former spot to follow the receding water line. Now, right now, the lake has fallen 95% full to a little bit more than a quarter percent full. And we're talking about a lot of water here. The Bureau of Reclamation, they're saying that 2 to 4 million acre feet of water is required to stabilize the Colorado River basin. So this means that people are going to have to cut water, as much as 25% of what they're using right now. Even if almost everybody's been conserving as much as possible already, they still need to save another 25% of water usage. So, you got places like Nevada, non-functional turf is being banned, and people are being paid to remove their lawns just to reduce the water usage. California Governor Gavin Newsom, he said last week he announced a new water strategy that this includes capturing and storing rainwater, and this is actually illegal in some states, believe it or not. You guys can tell me if you know why that's illegal. I can't imagine why capturing rainwater would be illegal. But they're also looking to desalinate ocean water. Communities in Arizona, they're being pitted against each other by these different cuts. The investment firms, they're trading in water rights. I mean, why am I not surprised that the stock market is benefiting from this in some way, right? You know, the stock market always finds a way to make money. But, you know, what's even scarier is that they're now looking at agricultural producers for their next cuts. They're looking to come after the farmers of all people. So they're trying to come after our food sources yet again. So one expert said that, you know, you have to, you know, have a contribution from the sector that uses 80% of the water. And basically they're looking at how much water usage farmers use, and so they're coming after the farmers. But it's like the farmers are using so much water because they have to. They got to produce food for the American people, for the people of the world, really. So coming after our food. So that could create food shortages going forward yet again. It's a very dangerous, slippery slope that they're considering. You know, they're considering proposals to pay farmers to let lands lie fallow or uncultivated. But the problem is that it could impact the fertile valley. It could impact the fertile valleys that provide the country with tomatoes and greens. They said here, there's a ton of ideas, even more wild ideas out there. People say that you should pipe water from the Mississippi or drag glaciers down from Alaska and melt them and use them for water. I don't even know how they would do some of this stuff. But you know, there's some crazy ideas out there. They've been having these water restoration conversations for over 100 years, but ultimately it's a very slow motion, man-made disaster in real time that's happening. And this is what they're saying. So, you know, we'll definitely keep an eye on this one. I'll definitely keep you guys posted. But how's the water situation in you guys' area? Let me know what you guys are seeing down below, boots on the ground. What are you guys seeing in your area in terms of water? Now, the situation with debt and credit cards is about to get way worse. I mean, maxing out credit card limits being reduced, things about to get way worse. Now, with everything getting more expensive, more and more Americans, they're relying on plastic, their credit cards, just to get by. The problem? Well, these rising interest rates are going to come back and bite like anyone who's not paying their credit card balances off every single month. And so those credit card bills, they're going to drop, they're going to hit, and you know, Americans are not going to be ready. Interest rates on credit cards are so high these days that consumers with a $5,000 credit card balance, they could pay an extra $1,000 over the course of 1 year. And that's only on a $5,000 balance. Imagine some people with $10,000 in credit card debt, $15,000, $20,000 in credit card debt, you know? So the numbers could get really, really, scary. So, you know, this is according to the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. Now, the Fed, they have essentially been on this warpath with their interest rate hikes, and they don't plan on slowing down anytime soon. And at the time, some families are relying on more credit cards to keep up with the high cost of inflation. Now, as the Bureau has said here, in the coming months, more and more people may turn to their credit cards as increasing prices for necessities like groceries and gas continue to destroy their budgets. But this borrowing will come at a cost. So with today's interest rates, a person with a $5,000 credit card balance, they could easily pay an additional $1,000 in interest over the course of a year. So more than 175 million Americans have at least one credit card, and about half of active accounts carry a balance. So what's even worse is that credit card rates, they're way beyond the Fed's base rate. According to this, the spread between the prime rate and the average annual rate of credit cards, it was at record highs. And this is even as, you know, actual delinquencies and defaults tumble to record lows. So people are paying their bills on time still, but they're still still getting over on people with these huge margins that banks are making on the spread between the interest rate provided by the Fed and the interest rate that they're charging people with their credit cards. It's ridiculous. Even before the Great Recession, charge-off rates and credit card margins, they used to move in tandem. But when the economy recovered, credit card companies, they didn't follow along. They just kept their rates, hoping nobody would notice. And they even ramped it up during the pandemic. And as the research notes, during the whole C-19 pandemic, issuers, their margins and their cutoff rates, they diverged even further. But drop me a quick comment down below if you feel like Congress should do something about our credit card bills and what credit card companies are allowed to charge us. Some people feel like Congress should get involved. Some people feel like Congress should just mind their own business. More on this in my future videos, you guys. For more news and information on money, financial prepping, financial preparation, financial survival, make sure to drop a like for the video. Also subscribe to the channel. I want to thank you guys all, all the boots on the ground for dropping helpful insider information in the comments. I look forward to seeing you guys on the next video. Be safe.